Everywhere we turn, we see division. Everywhere we go, we feel alone. How do we live in a time that is so polarizing and isolating? How do we find meaning in a world filled with so much noise? Where is the understanding and empathy? Where is the freedom from our pain? Join me, Russell Eugene Welch III. This is our journey together as we discover that the answers to life's biggest questions and hardest choices are not some deep, mystical secret locked away in some far-off corner of the universe, but the soft, gentle voice in our own hearts. This is our first step, as together we embark on our incredible adventure of empathy, unity, and understanding. These are the stories of human triumph. Your stories, our stories. This is the struggle for meaning. Greetings, this is your host, Russell Eugene Welch III. Damian is a friend of mine back from when I was a kid. We were in a program called The Young Marines Together. It's the Marine Corps' drug demand reduction program. It's like Boy Scouts, but a little bit more Marines. A little bit more oorah to it. Yeah, a little bit more intense. So, Damian, tell us a little about yourself.
Well, I'm happy I'm here. It's the first time I've come on any show like this, so it's different. I'm just really hoping to be able to talk with you a bit and share some of my own personal experiences and kind of go from there.
Awesome. What would you describe yourself as to somebody who's never met you before?
Definitely say that I'm not judgmental. I have an irresistible hero complex, and regardless of whether I like you or not, I'm always going to be there for everybody. So it's one thing I want to keep in mind for anyone, because just because we get into an argument, opinions, it doesn't matter.
So it sounds like loyalty is pretty important to you.
It's definitely important.
What are some other characteristics or traits that are really important to you?
The courage to be able to stand up to those people that, aren't so good, and the courage to be able to help others who don't have that power to help themselves.
So basically to stand up for what's right.
Always.
Always, okay. And would you put a limit on that? Would you say there's a limit on standing up for justice?
There's always going to be a limit. There's that old saying, if you live in it long enough, you'll see yourself become the villain.
Is that the Dark Knight?
I mean, I heard about it before that. But it can become true at some point in your life if you try to stick to it no matter what. Because eventually someone's going to see something wrong with it because you're pushing your own agenda, your own wants over someone else's. I mean, it can happen.
Do you think there's a way to limit that? To prevent yourself from going to an extreme where you become the villain?
You could prevent. You said prevent? Yeah. So usually for me, it's just an incredible amount of willpower. I was able to force myself from becoming a bad person. I mean, I can't say I haven't had bad thoughts before. I've had thoughts I want to do stupid stuff all the time. But it's looking back that it's not the person I want to be. It's not the person I want other people to see me as. It's not who I ever saw myself becoming. So I use that. I use my own self-image to stop myself from doing that. For other people, it could be someone they know, someone they love, someone they care about. It could have been someone that possibly, if you were in that instance, that sacrificed himself for you, and that's who you want to be. You don't want to sully the memory of that person, I guess. There's a bunch of different instances, and I mean, you really just got to find one that works for you, but you got to limit yourself, because if you try to push that on somebody else, you're becoming the villain at that point.
So how do you know if you've gone too far?
When someone doesn't want your help.
What if someone needs your help but doesn't want it? What do you do then?
You give them the space, but you always keep a watchful eye. Sometimes that's all you can do. I've had plenty of people before that they don't want help, but they need help, or they need help but don't, or, the other way around. But eventually, either they'll come around or they'll work it out themselves, or sometimes they don't, and they need that person there at that last minute to just say one thing, just to help them.
So you just stay ready?
You always stay ready.
Is that exhausting?
For me personally, no. Other people, it can get mentally draining, and it can cause depression because you're seeing so many people at their lowest points.
Does that affect you like that? Does that wear you down at all?
It does wear down. But I mean, it's something I've always wanted to do myself. I've always wanted to help people. It's not just an image or a want. It seems like it's who I was supposed to be. It's who I want to be. It's who I am. I can't do anything bad. I can't watch someone suffer and not feel guilty about it. I'm an empath. I can't help it. I see someone in pain and I need to help. And it's gotten me this far, and I've learned a lot of life experiences from watching other people and helping other people and getting them through it. And then when I go to that spot in my life, I sit there and think, well, this person had the same problem, and I'm glad I helped them, because thinking about them now and knowing I got them through it, I know I can get through it.
So that helped you.
Oh, yeah.
Now, you mentioned earlier about struggling, and then you mentioned about, you didn't fall into the trap of letting yourself become a bad person because you had a clear image in mind of who you wanted to be. So walk us through that process. When did you first start to have an idea of who you wanted to be, and what was that like? And then what was it that eventually challenged that you had to struggle with and overcome, and how'd you overcome that?
So initially, I was actually about 5 years old, and ever since that point when I had some family, that was in the military. I had people that I saw just on the streets that were in the military, and I would see it on TV. And growing up seeing these people, as strong, as brave as they were, it was who I wanted to become, just from that young age. And ever since then, I never looked back and never rethought about who I wanted to be or what I wanted to be, because I always wanted to be in the military. I always wanted to be an army guy.
Right. Is that because that seemed like what a hero was to you?
It was, because I always viewed them as people that saved others, that protected, that was always ready to stop the villain, to save the day. I mean, I think anyone as a young kid could identify with it.
You looked up to these people. You respected them.
An incredible amount.
Right. So you wanted to be like them.
Yes.
And so what was your process to pursue that? Did you take steps to pursue that goal?
I think the very first steps I took, honestly, was joining the Young Marines. I always held myself to a personal standard before then, but I wasn't able to actually put those into action and to show my beliefs, to become the person I wanted to, until I joined the Young Marines. It really brought out the person that I was trying to be. And it was a very big step in the right direction, because I met people like yourself, Mr. Havermail, and a lot of other characters.
Yeah. And what kind of effect did those people have on you?
I'll say positive. Everyone there was very supportive. It wasn't that when you got there you felt unwelcomed. You felt welcomed, and you had people there all the time asking if you were doing good. Do you need help? Is there anything you need? I'll see you next week. I mean, that little bit, it
makes a lot of difference to a kid.
Oh, yeah.
And did that program challenge you?
Yeah. It really challenged my discipline, because, again, having the hero complex, I'd never been tested in that way, being as young as I was. So it was a real character builder for me to, if I needed to do something, do I have the mental fortitude to do it? And it really pushed those boundaries. Did I have the ability to stand out in the cold for long periods of time? Not when I got there, but I definitely developed it.
Right, do a drill in the winter. Yeah. It's a good time. Push-ups in the snow.
I mean, when you got skin like leather, you don't feel it.
Right. So I'm thinking of that I'll Make a Man Out of You montage from...
Oh, yeah.
What Disney movie is that? Mulan. I'll make a man out of you. Let's get down to business to defeat the Huns.
I'm just glad no one found out that as a woman.
Damn. I got busted, though.
My secret is I'm a man.
Damn. But yeah, so after that program, what was the next step for you? Where'd you go from there?
From that point, the couple years that I was there, I came of age to the point where I could actually sign up for the Marines on my own. You know, my grandparents obviously didn't like it, but they came to the school. I signed some paperwork to go to MEPS, and I went to the recruiting office, talked to them for a while, signed some more papers, and you know, it was just more of they were taking me there to see if I was qualified. But being that I had turned 18 just a little while before, I ended up signing the papers.
Right.
Because, again, I looked up to these people and I respected them a lot. I still do. You know, it's just a part of who I've become. You know, it's a real challenge to go through that process, look at this paperwork, signing your life away for however many years you agreed to, and sticking with it and looking at it as a positive step. Because you're going to have your bad times. You're going to have things that you're obviously not going to like seeing, that you're not going to like doing. But again, that's where that mental fortitude comes in. When you really need it the most sometimes, because you're going to get homesick. You're going to feel pain. You're going to feel sad. But if you can take one more step forward each day, you'll make it through. So it was just a really big step. It's a huge step, life-changing step.
So that must have been a pretty emotional moment for you.
It was, not visibly, but the thoughts that I had of how things were going to be changing after that point, you know, it's a lot to take in.
Yeah. Was that overwhelming at all, or?
More on the fact of, if I sign these papers and I go, will I be able to live up to my own standards? Will I be able to help people? That was the biggest questions in my mind, because I could have been put anywhere.
So the Damian that was in the military and was a hero that you had created in your mind and was like here on the table to be signed for. And now it was a question of, can I live up to this image that I've created of myself?
Yeah, it pops up into quite a few people's minds, I think. You know, once you get there and you're able to do what you want to do and become the person you believe yourself to be, a lot of people do doubt themselves, because I'd set a really high bar for myself to not be a coward if something happened, to be there for everybody when I could, to be able to pull the trigger if I needed to.
Right.
That's something that no one is necessarily prepared for until they're faced with the choice. So
you put up a lot of pressure on yourself.
Yeah.
That sounds like it. So what happened from there?
So from that point, a couple of years went by. I was still in Young Marines. Nothing big necessarily happened between those 2 years, besides the change in command for Young Marines at that time. But I got to the point where I was ready to leave for boot camp, and I get there, and it was nice. It was hard. I'm not gonna lie. Everybody has their own opinions. I like the atmosphere because I like order. I like having things done when they need to be done, and it's just blatant, cut and dry.
It made sense to you.
It made sense. The most sense.
Right.
Because there's no chaos in it. This is what you're told to do, or this is what you need to do, and you do it, and it's done. You know, there's no other things getting in your way, because it's short and simple most of the time. But while I was there, I ended up getting into an accident. I believe my third or fourth week. I can't remember the time frame necessarily right now. It's been quite a long time. And we had to use an alternative learning room from the House of Knowledge because it was full. So we used it for the first aid class, and they had bleachers. At the point at which we were done with the class and we all stood up, everyone's trying to rush, just a stupid accident, I ended up falling down the bleachers.
She just slipped on the bleachers and fell.
Well, the guy beside me bumped me a bit, and that kind of helped me me down. But from that point, I don't necessarily remember walking like they said I did, but they said that I walked to the infirmary, and I was taken to the local hospital, Balboa. And from there, they did some x-rays, whatnot. They did their general routine. They needed to check my head, neck, back, whatnot. I had a little bit of neck and back pain, a little bit of ankle pain because it apparently got caught or something. But the doctor had given me paperwork and had said that I had a concussion. So I was kind of struggling at that point because I wasn't really thinking clearly.
Still in a bit of a fog?
I had trouble remembering things a bit, and for a time after that, I had a little trouble speaking. But through that time, I went through the discharge process because I guess, again, I had a hard time functioning from the concussion. I signed paperwork to get discharged and everything, and I ended up leaving boot camp. So at that point, I had come home and had talked to the recruiters again because I didn't want to leave.
Right.
But I did. And I struggled with it for a while. This is my speech. I kept talking and I couldn't get the words out that I wanted to say. I would pause in the middle of talking because, again, I had a concussion.
Yeah.
It was difficult for a little bit. I eventually got over that, and I went to talk to the recruiters multiple times. But at one point, they said that they didn't want me coming in anymore, so I couldn't go into the office. So I tried calling the Marine headquarters at a later date to see if I could re-enlist because I had a re-entry code.
Right.
And that was for a psychological evaluation. They still would not accept me. So I went to the Army because through the Army, at a certain point, you can transfer to the Marines. Wouldn't do it. So even though it was just going through a psychological evaluation, they still wouldn't accept it. They wouldn't put in the time to put me back.
How'd that make you feel?
It made me feel kind of thrown to the side a bit.
Made you feel rejected?
Yeah, pretty badly.
And this was your life goal. This is what you wanted. and now they were rejecting you.
It was what I always wanted. I can't necessarily say it was their fault. I gotta say, I mean, it was an accident, you know? And I mean, I injured myself on a stupid way, and again, I don't remember everything clearly, but I brought two friends with me, and I brought two friends with me there, and I had to leave both of them, and I'm the one that talked them into it, you know?
So, did you feel, like you said it was a stupid accident, but did that make you feel betrayed?
It didn't make me feel betrayed. It made me feel like I had screwed up, like I had done something.
So you blamed yourself?
Yeah.
Do you think that was fair to yourself?
At this point in time, no.
But it just felt that way?
It's something that's really hard to get over when
right.
you set your entire life towards this one goal and something so simple just takes it away, you know?
Right. So how did you feel about the two friends who you talked into it? Did that play into part of you feeling like you'd failed because you left them behind? Actually,
yeah. We all had these plans that we were going to go together, graduate together, be Marines together, you know, and it just didn't work out that way. One of those friends particularly had a very difficult time staying after I left because we were really good friends. It ate away at him for a while, and I tried to discuss it with him plenty enough that it was an accident and it happened. You know, he can't feel guilty that I lost my dream while he still got to be there.
Did he feel guilty about that?
I don't know if he felt guilty about it, but I know he definitely had very strong emotions. He was very upset that it had happened.
Did it feel like he was upset at you?
I never got to discuss that with him.
Did that make it harder because you never got to talk to him about that?
It did. You know, I always felt that they could have hated me for not being there, for not staying there. I think sometimes, too, I don't know if I helped them in their life or if I deterred them.
Right.
Because I don't know what kind of positions they were in, and I don't know exactly how they were feeling when I left.
So did this feel like you just lost your dream and your purpose?
Yeah, I had lost my purpose in life at that time. It was a blow that I don't think I even still recovered from. It's something that I always wanted to do, and now I have to find other ways to fulfill that purpose.
So you basically felt like your identity was just ripped away from you.
Yes and no. I feel that the position, the name was taken, but the emotions that I feel, the heart that I have to do these things wasn't, because I believe I've only become stronger because of it.
So what'd you do from there? What'd you do next?
From that point, me and my girlfriend, shortly after I came back, had gotten my own apartment. I was still sending letters to the Naval Records in D.C. I hadn't received anything in that whole time. So a year had passed, and that whole year I hadn't received anything, and not only that, but I had come to really find out who my girlfriend was. And I was having a breakdown. I was working a dead-end job. My girlfriend was not fulfilling her end of being a girlfriend, I guess. You know, she wouldn't work. She would sit at home all day. I'd come home and have to do dishes and everything. I'd have to do everything.
So you basically were like taking care of her and supporting her.
Yeah.
Which isn't something you needed right now after you'd like lost your dream and you're trying to work through this and you're working a dead-end job.
Generally, you know, that's what you go through when you love somebody is
Right.
you go through those pains. It's just eventually holding all that weight, the pain, the guilt, and the sadness that you feel that your life isn't going the way you planned kind of ate away at me.
So it was overwhelming.
It became overwhelming at one point where one night I had actually been driving around for a while after work, and my girlfriend had decided she was going to join the Army, so she was at MEPS. That was another weight added because now she's going to the Army, and I was happy because it was something she wanted to do, but at the same time, again, she was living a dream that I couldn't have.
Right.
So
Did that hit pretty close to home?
Oh, yeah, incredibly. And I was driving that night, and I was trying to find someone to talk to. I had tried calling, I had tried texting, I even looked at Facebook to try to get someone to talk to. And I couldn't find anybody. I wasn't in my right mind either, so it wasn't... I couldn't necessarily say how hard I looked. I was looking, but...
So you just felt like isolated and alone, and you just needed anybody to just listen.
Exactly. And that came down to my neighbor, and it was a she. I won't say any names for her privacy. Yeah. I ended up going there and talking to her for a while, and when she had decided that she wanted to go back inside, so we were outside talking, and she turned her back, I had felt that that was the last person I had to talk to. That was the last person turning their back on me. I literally crumbled at that moment because I never even really got to talk about my problems.
You'd felt because you lost your dream, you'd lost your friends, you lost your identity and your sense of purpose, and you were trapped working a dead-end job trying to take care of your girlfriend, and now she's leaving to the Army. Did that make you feel like she was leaving you too?
Yeah.
And so
because it changes people. It changes people, and you can't. It's something that a lot of people don't see too often because it's a loved one. But if you're with that person for so long, and suddenly they just change after they come back, I mean,
so you were worried you were going to lose her too.
Yeah.
And then you were driving around, trying to find someone to talk to, trying to find someone to reach out to, and you didn't have anyone. It must have been like so isolating. And
well, you know, it was an issue that I didn't know I had till it was too late. It was something that I hadn't even thought about until then, that this is how I actually feel about my life. This is where I am, and now all this weight's coming down on me. And it was very suffocating in its own way, because how do you talk to someone who's actually going to be able to respond the proper way, to be able to just listen even and understand and say everything's going to be okay? Sometimes people don't do that. Sometimes people try to talk and put themselves into every situation, and that's not what some people want to hear. I just needed someone to tell me it was going to be all right, and I didn't have that. I didn't feel like I had that. That's why I didn't even contact my girlfriend that night, because I didn't feel like I could talk to her. I mean, when people these days want to talk through texts and not in person or not on the phone, they just want to text each other, it makes it very difficult, because sometimes you just need that person to be there.
You need the connection. You can't share feelings over text.
So that lack of connection was one of the catalysts that led to me mentally breaking down that night and assaulting this young woman. I had choked her till she passed out. And it's not something I'm ever going to be proud of. It's not something I ever want to think about, but I do because I need to. Because that was someone I cared about. That was someone that I loved. That was someone I knew. And I had hurt this person. That's not the person I wanted to be. And that's not the person that... I don't think that when I went to jail for this crime, or when I was sentenced to prison, I had ever felt so bad in my life than that night. I've never felt anything that bad, that I had almost killed somebody. I had hurt someone that I knew that bad. And I've had her try to get a hold of me. I've had her tell my grandparents that it's okay, that she forgives me. And I can't.
Because you can't forgive yourself?
I can't forgive myself. because I went against everything I believed, everything that I wanted to become, and not to mention the fact that I know she had nightmares. I know she had nightmares afterwards, and I know the mental toll that it took on her, because how can you not? You had someone you trust attack you. It's a concept that for someone like me, it was unimaginable till it happened. And I can't ever say again that I will ever forgive myself. I don't know if I ever will.
Do you think you don't deserve to be forgiven?
It's not that I don't believe that I deserve to be. It's that I don't think I want to be. Because I feel if I'm forgiven, then why? Why did I go through the pain that I did? You know? And I believe I need that pain to stay strong, because I have to look back on it and not see forgiveness. I have to look back on it and see the worst part, to be able to see that in my head and then look at my situation today and say, I'm here now because of that. I'm doing better now because I did that. I will never like what I did. I will never say it was justified. I will never say, don't hate me for it. You can look at it any way you want. I will never judge anyone for saying they don't like me because I hurt this person. But I need that pain to move forward. I need it to take those steps forward every day, because it's walking towards the person that I want to be, that I need to be, that hero that I need to be, because that's who I am.
So it sounds like this event really broke you in a lot of ways.
It did. The amount of stress that I went through from just thinking about what I did, not even the courts. I had lost a lot of weight, and I wasn't eating. I honestly, I didn't even cry. I felt guilty. I felt so incredibly guilty. I couldn't find the motivation to do anything for the longest time.
And then, did that start to change eventually?
Yes. So as I went through the jail and I went through the court systems, again, I had to listen to what I did through a preliminary exam when she had entered and she testified. And I came back, and soon after, my girlfriend said that she was leaving me, which at this point, looking at it, it was for the best. I was obviously upset at the time, so I had another thing weighing me down. Now, I won't say that God had made a personal appearance in my life, but someone that was a chaplain did. And he came in to read the Bible, and he would pull me off to the side because I'd ask him to talk a lot. And when I talked to him, I felt a little better each time, because it wasn't, this is what God wants for you. It's not always what God wants for you. He believes in God, and he believes that he's there to help me, and that, which is understandable. I have nothing against that. But he would talk to me like a normal person and say things would be okay. And I felt better. I felt an incredible relief every time he said that. You'll get through this. This is something that you were meant to go through, and you'll be stronger because of it. And so when I went through this, I thought of that every day, and every time that he would tell me this, and I decided I need to do something to change. So when I had gone to court for my sentencing, I had requested the judge to make sure that I get counseling. Please make sure that I get counseling. That's all I want. So he made sure that I got it, and I can't say that in every facility in prison that the counselors were the best.
Right.
But I did meet two very good ones that definitely helped me get out of my slump to move forward as a person.
And what was that like, working through that, like counseling?
It was like trying to dig through a boulder. It's through all the guilt and pain that I was feeling at the time. I'd hit a wall for a while because it was fresh. It was very difficult to look back on it because I didn't want to look back on it at the time. It was something difficult to think about. But over time, I chipped away at it. Time after time after time, I went to counseling a lot. And I actually had gotten two counselors that cared about my well-being, and it was good because, again, they said, don't worry, we'll get through this. It'll be okay. And they knew what I was there for. They knew what I did. I even had to describe it to them. They have the preliminary report from the court hearings, everything. So they knew what I did. And they sat there and talked to me like a normal human being, because it wasn't just their job. It was something that they wanted to do with their life, to help people, to help them through their problems. And that was something that I needed. I didn't need someone to say, you taking meds? How are you feeling? Okay, you're good? See ya. Right. I didn't need something like that. I needed
someone to hear you. You wanted someone to
Exactly.
really hear you and care, which is what you'd been looking for a long time.
And it was good because I was able to work out why I did what I did, why I was feeling the way I was, and how to help me prevent it in the future. It wasn't just what they wanted, here, go to prison. I put forth the initiative, like, hey, I need this, and this is what's going to help me not be the bad person that I am today.
So what was the process like of working through that? You said it felt like digging through a boulder. What were some of the steps you took along the way that helped you work through this? What were some of the milestones of things you learned that made a difference?
The biggest thing was identifying why I had lost, essentially what people would say, lost my mind, why I was so upset, why I had done what I did. So once I broke it down to what I was feeling, because when you lose yourself like that, you don't pay attention to how you're feeling. You just know that you're doing this right now. I was hurting that person right at that moment. That's all I knew. That's all I saw. But when I broke it down to what I was feeling before I even got there, I was able to break down the reasons of why I did it. And knowing why I did it was the first step in figuring out how to prevent it.
Right.
And that's what I needed first, was preventing myself from getting in that situation again, from preventing me from getting in that scenario that could allow me to do that again. And that's the biggest step that anyone needs to take for any reason. If you know something's going to go wrong in a certain situation, you break down what goes wrong, how it could go wrong, why, and you say, well, I'm just not going to put myself there.
And then when it comes to like dealing with the emotions that you felt beforehand, and then the emotions that you feel because of what happened, did you get into those emotions? Did you work on those?
Yes. In the counseling, I did, but the best reference I can give was my violence prevention class. So around the time before you leave, they generally get you into every class that you were requested or have been referred to. And the violence prevention class program, was, I gotta say, the second biggest thing to happen to me in prison. I had a very good, caring teacher that would listen, again, to what everyone did. It was a private session. You could describe what you did, how you feel about it, how you want to improve. And when we go into class, we introduce ourselves, and we get right into 33 different chapters of this binder. And all of them are each a section on identifying what emotion you attach to what, and what usually occurs from that emotion. Why did you throw a plate? Well, you see, when I get sad, this is what I do. So I threw a plate. You just broke it down. This is the reason why you break these things, because you get this emotion. So what makes you feel that way? And they run it back. Well, I lost my dog and I lost this, so it's loss that gets you in this mood. They break it down to the basics, the most basic thing that they possibly can, so that
The motives that drive your actions.
Exactly. And they do this for every emotion that's negative, but they never tell you, we're not telling you to not feel anything or to not be angry. We're telling you to know how to prevent yourself from hurting others when you feel this way. You can feel it all you want, but just know how to manage it.
Right.
For me, I love mental imagery. I like to think of myself in a thunderstorm and rain because it calms me down. That feeling, that sensation, I could stand out right now and be immediately calmer. So they have 33 different things to help calm you down, or to take your mind off of it, or to look at things through the other person's eyes rather than just your own. So it's not to just identify why you're upset, but to identify why other people are upset. It allows you to look in the third person out of your own view. So that was a really helpful class to go through, because counseling didn't go through those steps like that. They talk to you and, they make you feel human. This actually broke down why you feel anything.
And so how did that help you? How did that change your relationship with your feelings, being able to break it down?
So essentially when I was with the Marines, I always felt that anger was a necessary emotion to solve problems. Not young Marines, but the real Marines.
The real Marines.
Hanging around them all the time was nice. Everything's joking. And, when anger pops up, it's super angry. You get stupid angry. And just being able to look at it as, okay, this isn't okay all the time.
It doesn't solve all your problems.
It doesn't. And look where it got me.
Right.
So looking at it in a different light and looking at it in actually several different lights because of the different perspectives, I was able to kind of isolate some of those emotions when I needed to, or calm myself down when I needed to. And it's very rare now when I will actually get angry enough to even raise my voice at somebody, because I don't see it as appropriate, because what does it accomplish?
Now, I imagine that was a process for you to get to that point, right?
Yeah.
Like, it didn't come easy. When you're just like, oh, okay, I understand my emotions now. Now I can just flip a switch and it's all, I don't get mad anymore.
Yeah.
I'm cool. Right. What was that process for you? What did you do to get to the point where you had recognized that anger wasn't the solution to all your problems, and that it could be a problem, and that it could be dangerous, and then you had recognized, you talked about your feelings, and got to the point where you understood what things made you angry and what things you were feeling. So where did you go from there to get to the point where now you can stay calm?
It was more of reestablishing who I was. And since I couldn't be who I was before, I had to, I guess, rearrange my character.
You had to create something new.
Exactly. I didn't have to create something entirely new. I could still live on the same principles that I wanted to live by, because they're good. They're really good principles. It's not something that I have to keep everything bottled up. It's not something I have to restrain myself at all times. I could still try to be the hero that I wanted to be, just not a Marine.
Right.
And once I started building this character that, okay, this is who I want to be, I'm going to throw, say, my grandpa into the mix. I'm going to throw some of my grandma, some of my friends that I knew. And when I started putting these pieces together and then added that one centerpiece that I wanted to be there, that hero piece, I got something that I believe was better, because it's not just a generic ideal of myself. It's something that I took the time to, this is what I went through in my life. These are the people that I met, and these are the things that I really liked about them, and these are the things that I'm going to try to do to make myself better, because they did this, and this was great. This person did that, and this was amazing. You have people that constantly tell the truth. You have people that constantly are there for other people. You have people that are knowledgeable just to be a handyman, and they say thank you and you're welcome. And it's all these little things that build my character today. Even today, even the guys in prison, not everyone there is a horrible person because they say thank you, I appreciate it. And now I can't get rid of it, because I always say I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you for doing this for me. I appreciate you.
So how do you feel about who you are now as opposed to who you were? How do you feel about all the growth that you've gone through?
I would definitely say I would not like to grow that way ever again. I would say by far this person has outgrown who I could have been before. I have gotten past that point, because if I was just that Marine, that hero Marine, I wouldn't have had the experiences I had going through the courts, the prisons, I met a lot of people. And those experiences, those people helped shape who I am, because some of those people tried to keep me out of trouble.
It challenged you in ways that you never imagined you'd be challenged.
Exactly. If I got mad, they would say, oh, calm down. Don't worry about it. You want to go home? We all want to go home. You're a nice person. You don't need this. Obviously, they wouldn't take their own advice sometimes.
Right. We all do that. We all give advice we don't take.
But if you can
Except me, I never do that. I'm perfect.
Yeah. If you can become a person that even another prisoner can say, you're a good guy, don't do this. I mean, that's a big boost, because it means I'm walking in the right direction. I took a huge step, because I had a lot of people not like me before. I understand, I had yourself and other friends, but my group of friends was small compared to most of other people's.
And especially in prison, it's hard to access a lot of those people.
Yeah. But meeting all these different people with these different personalities, it got me out there, and I could talk to any of these people now, any type of personality, and feel comfortable. To feel like I can work with these people, we can be friends. It didn't become a challenge. So honestly, I was shy before. I was really shy. I wouldn't do this. I couldn't talk to the girl. I couldn't go out and just make friends. Now, I mean, I could go anywhere, talk to anybody, and make a new friend. And if they don't want to, it's all right. You know, it's the way things fall. It's the way things happen. Not everyone has to be my friend.
So it sounds like you've found a lot of confidence to put yourself out there and be more of the person that you want to be. And it also sounds like you have a very healthy mindset when it comes to recognizing the fact that you can't always get what you want. And that's okay. It's okay that there's things outside your control. If someone doesn't want to be your friend, that's okay. They don't have to be.
Yeah. So
it's a very mature mindset. I think a lot of people spend a lot of their life and never get that far. And it's very tragic and it's very sad.
Well,
you should be proud of yourself for that.
Oh, yeah. I don't know.
You've done a lot of growing. Are you proud of yourself for the growing that you've done?
I'm proud of myself for the growing I've done, but I know how much further I have to go.
How much further do you have to go?
Oh, I have eternity.
You're gonna live forever?
You can always...
Can you share the secret with me?
You can always learn something new every day for the rest of your life and still not learn everything. Even if you focused on one subject.
But that's the person you want to be, is the person who's better every day.
Exactly.
How do you push yourself to do that?
I put myself out there and be able to help everyone that I can, because it presents a new situation, a new challenge, and it personally tests who I am. Because if someone is in a situation where, say they have a knife on them, would I step between them? I have a very good idea that I would, because I've been in situations like that before, and I've been in other more serious situations where I've had to step in front of weapons. I've had to separate people and was able to actually talk these people into walking away, talking to each other, or even possibly getting over what had just happened. And it's not easy. It never will be easy, because I know that I'm not always going to be able to be that person. I will do my best, but I can't prevent everything from happening.
But you can try.
Exactly. And that's all it takes.
That's a good analogy that you made. That's a really good analogy, because in that analogy, you don't just have to be a hero by stepping in the way of the knife and getting jabbed. You don't have to just jump in the way of a knife and get ganked. Like talking the people down, that's the hard thing to do. It's easier to make an impulsive decision. Now, it's not easy to put yourself in harm's way. That's difficult. But it's easy, especially when emotions are running high, to take the easier way out and take the aggressive approach to try to solve the situation with violence, to try to intimidate the person, to try to push back. But to be in a situation that's difficult and step in and then take control of the situation, but not forcefully, but gently, and steer the conversation in a productive way to de-escalate. It's really hard to do, but it's really important. And that's a way you can really be a hero. Not everybody, you don't have to be the hero that slays the dragon or shoots the gun. There's everyday ways we can all be heroes just by helping people. Like you said, by being there for them. And if they don't want you there, then just waiting and being ready when they need you. And that's a way we can all be heroes every day. Now, what are some other ways you feel like you can make a difference? What are some ways you try to make a difference?
I actively have still kept in contact with some people in prison to try to direct them the right path.
You want to be a positive influence.
Positive influences always help, I'm by no means a symbol, but for someone
Batman.
else, yeah. For someone to look at me that's in prison still, that knew me, to go from nothing again to having all that I have now. I have a great job. I'm still trying to find a place, but I pay all my bills on time. Again, I have a great job. I've made a lot of new friends. I can go out and do whatever I want now because I feel the freedom to, and I do that often, just to have the freedom. It's an inspiration for those people to know that you can go out and live a normal life. Not everyone's going to know that you're a felon. Not everyone's going to judge you just by looking at you. Not everyone's going to hate you just as soon as you start talking to them, because that's how some people like that feel. I came out believing everyone knew that I was in prison, and surprisingly, almost no one did. No one even knew I was gone. That was kind of upsetting. But,
right. That you were gone for, 4 years?
Yes.
And some people were just like, oh, hey. Like you never even
happened.
left. And I was just like, excuse you. Like, you could miss me a little bit.
Some of these people are coming out to nothing. They have no family because they're either gone or dead, don't have nothing to do with them. They don't have any friends because their friends were gangsters. They don't have a home. They have no education, nothing. But for them to feel that people have come out and actually made something of themselves is in its own right being a hero, because someone can look at you and say, I can be that. I can do that. I don't have to necessarily talk to the person as long as I inspire them from a distance. And that in itself is not easy.
Right.
I'm not a shining beacon of hope, but keeping in contact with some of these people.
You are a great example of how someone can discipline themselves and work hard and change their life and turn it around. It's what you did. Like, you had a lot pile up on you. Life was piling and piling and piling. And life piles on some people more. And yeah, that's neither here nor there. Everyone has their own struggles and their own ways, and it can be hard. But when life heaps stuff on you and you feel so trapped and you lose your way and you don't know your direction and you don't know your identity and you feel like you're losing people and you're all alone. But to be able to go from that point of just brokenness and isolation and build yourself back up from the foundation to be a functioning member of society and be okay and have a healthy mindset and a healthy outlook and strong personal goals, trying to help people and make a difference in whatever way you can, in big ways and in small ways. Like, that's, you say not a shining example, but if that isn't a shining example, what is?
Someone who doesn't go to prison.
I don't have a good, clever comeback for that. So what's your long-term goals? Where would you like to be in 10 years, 20 years? What do you see yourself doing?
I'm hoping within that time I have all my degrees in order, from my associates in business applied sciences. Hopefully get a programming degree soon after that. Join a company that needs my skills, and from there, I don't have any particular companies I would be looking into, but I want to build my own business. I want to have my own game design business. I want to make games. I want to be able to maybe advance the VR system, VR headsets, create a oasis of sorts that actually feels like you're there, you're in it. And a lot of people know what I'm talking about when I say that. But I want to be able to give people that feeling of flying when they've never walked. And that's that goal that I've set beyond my personal self.
Do you think part of that is because you feel like you missed your chance to fly?
I wouldn't say that I missed my chance, because I think I still have the rest of my life ahead of me. So,
did you feel that way in the past?
Oh yeah. Mostly when I was in prison. I felt like I had lost my future, because in Michigan, truth in sentencing, it's 4 to 10 years. It's not just 4 years. You could go back. At this point, I'm past that point. Thank God. But it was always the possibility, because it was hanging over my head for another year and a half, that I could go back and I can do more time. After that feeling of doom fell away, I felt like I could do anything with my life, because I didn't have anyone saying, this is what you can and can't do. This is what you're restricted to. You can't go here. You can't talk to these people. You can't do this, can't do that. I was absolutely free at that point. And some people know when I say that having your freedom taken away, it's an incredible feeling of loss in its own right. You do not feel free as soon as someone says, by force, you are going to sit in this cell. These small rooms, this is where you're going to be for this amount of time. You have nothing here besides going to church or whichever your religion is.
Right.
That is your only right. So when that disappeared, that doom, I started thinking more for myself that these are the options before me, and I can do any one of them that I want.
So then you felt like you could fly.
Oh yeah. I felt like I was flying as soon as that feeling left. So I used the wings and I flew right back to college. That's what I'm currently working on. I'm working my way there. It's slow, but I mean, I'm looking at some point, hopefully find another woman that cares as much about me as I do about them, and that I can have a family of my own and have a house, a nice business to own.
Right.
My friends are still going to be around, and I'm not going to have to fear my own actions again. Because I know I'll know at that point that I've accomplished everything I've wanted to accomplish.
You don't have to fear your own actions because you know yourself.
Exactly.
You've worked through yourself. You've found who you are. How does that feel?
Feels good. I haven't had a future in my mind that looked so bright as the one now.
Now, what would you say to people who are in any step of this process, this journey you've been on, people who are struggling? Maybe they're early on. Maybe they just lost their sense of identity. Maybe they don't have a sense of direction. Maybe they've done something that they can't forgive themselves for, or they're still struggling with. Maybe they hurt someone. Maybe they hurt themselves. Like they feel lost or they've lost their future. What would you say to people like this? What would you say to people who are just struggling and trying to find their way?
That road you have to walk isn't easy. It's not. But if you can find something in your own heart, your own mind that keeps you, I guess, aware and functioning and giving you the willpower to say, I can make it through today. You look at that thing every day. You keep it in your heart. It'll get you through every day because you're going to say, I'm not going to give up for this. It could be yourself. It could be someone else. It could be an object. It could be your dog. But if you can look at it and say, it's going to be okay. I can do this. I can make it. It may not be enough for everybody, but it's a hell of a start.
Well said. Do you have any other closing thoughts?
Oh, I'd really like to say that I appreciate the opportunity to come on here, and I hope that my life experiences could help pave a path for someone else's future. Again, I really appreciate it.
It was a pleasure having you. Somebody asked me, what is a hero? I would say, a hero is someone who helps others without regard to personal sacrifice. A hero is someone who will help others at the cost of personal sacrifice. And to be willing to come on to here and to share your story, to share your shame, your brokenness, your hurt, the things you've struggled with, your story, like the fact that you're a felon, like all these things. There's so much negative and stigma and so many people who can judge you and a lot of people who will. That when you put anything out online, there's so many people who will judge that. There's so many people who will say hurtful and shameful things and won't understand and won't appreciate and won't get the message. And to be willing to take that risk, to be willing to make that sacrifice and put yourself out there and make yourself emotionally vulnerable so that other people can hear your positive message and have a chance to do better and reflect and have a different path, that is benefiting others at personal sacrifice. And to me, that is the definition of a hero. You've earned my respect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining me. This has been The Struggle for Meaning with Russell Eugene Welch III as your host. That's me. If you have enjoyed this program, please share it with someone else and leave a 5-star review to help us grow. If you go to lingeringshadow.com, you can find my blog, social media, updates on all my current projects, and announcements for future ones. I post all kinds of stuff on there every day. We always have an ongoing conversation about personal growth and finding meaning there. So hop on over and let's hear your thoughts too. Again, that's lingeringshadow.com. Keep learning, keep growing, and take it all one day at a time. You got this. Remember, you are not alone. We all live life together. So let's share life together. Now, here is a moment for yourself to just breathe and feel alive. Take care.